Good evening, everyone. 6 o'clock by the official timer, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. First order of business for this evening is, anyone have any additions or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, approval of the minutes of the February 3rd meeting. If anyone has any comments, additions, corrections?
I make a motion to approve them.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any comment on the motion? All in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Jay, you're on, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize for not getting a written report to you. The day kind of went badly. First half of the day, the computer did an update and it didn't get done till 1 o'clock. So by then I was plowing. So, I'm working with Northeast Municipal, and they're going to come up with a proposal to provide us with the procedures for safety stuff and some training at the garage. Dover's going to work with them too, so we're kind of doing it together to see if we can come up with, they haven't come up with a price yet, but I'll keep you posted as they go along.
You have to have certain trainings done, right?
And document how things are supposed to be done
Yeah.
within reason. They said to make sure you don't make it so complicated you can't follow it.
Yeah, there you go.
The new lights are all installed in the garage and they look really good. They went up pretty well, so most all of them have plug-ins, so you just swap them out and plug them in, and so that's been done. We may need to buy one more light for a corner that's still dark, but other than that, they came out really good.
And you put in what, LED?
The LED ones.
Yeah, I had a savings of $60 on our security lights on the switchover, just in 1 month.
And brighter too.
Yes, yeah.
People, I don't think always understand sometimes when it's going to change to rain like this, why we leave a little snow in the road. It's so, otherwise it turns to glare ice.
Mm-hmm.
They like to see it plowed off, but sometimes if you can leave a couple inches of snow, it really makes a difference. So it'll save a lot on sand if we can go back around and plow the ice off with the snow. So other than that, that's all I've got until we get to the sand salt shed part, which I think that's it.
Okay, well, any questions for Jay to this point?
I would just like to say you guys are doing a great job. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Second out. You want to go right into the salt shed?
Sure. So the plans are meant to be printed out on very large paper, so they're hard to read. He's working on a few changes to it, but basically the footprint would stay the same, so the state's kind of working through the all the steps they have to go through with archaeological and environmental and wetlands and all that. So that's all being worked on. We've narrowed up the door for the sand part of it to 25 feet wide instead of having it the full width. Maybe a little less snow might blow in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's going to increase the height of the door, I believe, to 22 feet from 18. Other than that, it's just the other thing we're going to try to do is backfill the wall so that has a little more support to it. Plus, it seems like it keeps the shed a little warmer in the back if the concrete's not all exposed. So.
Am I reading this map right around the shed? It looks like it's all stacked. Is that like a mounded area? Gradation?
They're showing the contours. They were showing graded off. He's going to make it so that it's actually backfilled.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there is quite a cut though, right?
Yep.
Yeah, looks
There's a
like
lot
it.
of stuff coming out.
And that backs up to like the water? Is that the only place?
No, to the right of the shed, as you look in the driveway, to the right of the shed is wetlands, and then it goes around to in front of the garage.
The wetlands in front of the garage?
The front by meaning the,
Oh, meaning
the
the
depot
town
roadside.
garage.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when they redid the wetlands, they found that they weren't anywhere near as big as the map showed. So
Oh.
now the state has concurred with it, and they've got flags all over the place out there through the woods, so.
Oh.
What kind of a grant, at least half of that, you say?
What's that?
How much money was the grant?
320,000, and we have to come up with, it was 400,000 for the building, and they give us 80%, so we had to come up with the 80,000, they come up with 320. So, now we're just hoping that they can come in at that price. But the guy did say that if it's more, he can go back and try to get more money, so I don't know.
I know, cause they got such a concrete work to that, that's, and like I said, Stratton's is over 600 grand.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what Townsend's was, but that was right up there too.
Because you have to do what, a concrete base to it,
There's
right?
like a 9 or 10 foot wide footing
Yeah,
on the
big
bottom of the
footings and then
foundation.
Yeah.
to support the
Goes
walls.
down in the ground real deep and there's thick walls, but I mean, there's a lot of cement and a lot of iron in it.
Mm-hmm.
Those walls up the Stratton are high too, when you're inside the building.
Mm. But I mean, Townsend's is about like what this one is probably is. That was pretty expensive too. Yeah, Stratton's salt shed costs more than their town garage.
God. Wow.
But there's so much cement in the ground, it's unreal.
Huh. And that's for a protector for the ground? It's they're having all that.
I guess, you know,
underneath?
so maybe if you're pushing against
Yeah,
it.
because
or-
when you go in with the loader to pick stuff up.
But if you backfill it all the way around 3 sides, you could probably almost cut some of that back too if you had to.
They claim, according to the engineer, that he can't account for that. It's a good idea to backfill it, but they can't make the concrete less if you
Yeah.
do.
Hmm.
They did one over in, by Bennington over there. They used concrete blocks. The big concrete blocks, and they put an arch over it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's other ways you can do them, a little bit cheaper, but I don't know if you'd ever build that thing for 300 and some thousand or not. Guess we'll find out.
So that will all have to go out to bid, right?
Yeah, the state will take care of that.
Oh, the
They-
state does that?
They do the whole, between Wyndham Regional is the project manager,
Okay.
and then we have a V-Trans person, and he has to kind of approve everything and get it out to bid, and then you do a scoring thing where you score the different bids that come in,
Yeah.
and then you put them all together, and that's how they award the bid.
So we don't have to do it as the board?
No, I think the only thing they'll do is when they make a decision, they'll bring it to you and say, this is the,
The best one?
yeah.
and budget it.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, sir. Okay. We'll enter the administrative assistance report.
This report.
Because I make a motion to approve Jay's verbal road commissioners.
I'll second it.
Any comments, anything on the motion before us? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, and thanks.
The town reports will be here in the next day or two. And will go out as soon as possible with the help of Carol, Melissa, Doris, and Marion has volunteered to help with labeling as well. I spoke with Jay to get help from them taking it to the post office. I've gone to the last 3 Wyndham Regional broadband meetings. In your packet tonight is the survey they would like us to send out to Newfane, Williamsville, South Newfane, and Brookside residents. They have set up an on-site that people can take the survey, but for those that don't have internet service, if we could leave some of the paper survey with the town clerk and have some available at the town meeting, we should hope for a good return. I needed to reschedule the public hearing until the 9th of March for the proposed natural burial bylaw change. This allows for the 15 days needed for the warning of the hearing. So tomorrow's meeting has been postponed.
Just a quick footnote on the survey, on the broadband survey, they want them back by the 17th.
Correct.
So it's a little bit of a push. Encourage people to do it, because then they'll get a pretty good idea of where people have internet, decent broadband, and where they don't, and some idea of how anxious some of the residents in those areas are to get it. So
It's definitely about serving the unserved and the not served.
on and under.
Yep.
And as many people say, people that are underserved might as well be considered unserved, so. Any questions for the administrative assistant? We have a motion on the report, please.
I'll make the motion to accept the report.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the report. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, scheduled members of the public. Erica, good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I have two things that I wanted to discuss. One was I was hoping that you guys could add the More Free Library as a place where the notices of meetings and things go out. I think right now they go to the South Newfane Post Office and the Market. I'm not sure if the Market's on there, but we have a lot of folks coming into the library, and it would be nice to have them be able to have that be a location, especially if it's as easy as you email it to me and I stick it on the bulletin board.
That's great. I think that's great.
Email it to you.
I think that's an excellent idea. I believe that comes up at the reorganization meeting, does it not?
Yes.
So that's
I'll make a
a little
mention
over
of
a
it.
week away, and the board can then act on it. I think you get general approval. And
When we do the organizational meeting, I'll make a mention of it.
Okay.
it's a done deal.
Okay. And I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of the post office, of the Newfane Post Office, but that might be a place to consider. I'm there almost every day because we mail our books out to other libraries and pick up books from other libraries that are mailed to us. And if you wanted to add that to the roster, I would certainly take responsibility of making a copy and sticking it on their bulletin board, but I'm in no position to speak for the post office, so.
You have to get permission from the postmaster to do it, put it in the post office.
So whenever I've asked if I could post something there, she said only if it's official town business.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, okay. I know there's posters there now
either are.
that should not be there because they're community posters, and it's only because I tried to do that and she's told me in the past, so it would be a good question to ask her what the rule is now. Because there's like 3 or 4 community event posters up there.
Well, the concern here is certainly town business, so.
Yeah.
And I believe that it is up to the postmaster. I don't know how much sway Brattleboro has over what happens in Newfane and
We have
Williamsville.
our
So
own, every office has its own postmistress.
so I know that. But years ago, I tried to get something posted or get things posted for the town.
Yeah.
I remember.
So it may have changed. It may have changed, I don't know.
Yeah.
The postmaster here does Newfane, Williamsville, West Somerset.
Yeah.
She's got 3 offices, and she's
Yeah.
postmaster.
Yeah, yeah. We can ask her.
I'm really asking for the library, but
Yeah.
I'm throwing in my 2 cents about that because I think that's a place where, people go.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
goes.
it's worth,
Well, I think in the meantime, if you email it to Erica, that's perfectly fine.
I'll be happy to put it on our exterior bulletin board.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So that was one thing. The other thing is at the last minute, I think that maybe some of you know, we're having this nuts and bolts of government, state and local government series at the library. And we have a small but very engaged group of people attending it. And the idea behind that grew out of last year's town meeting, where a lot of people were standing up and saying, I don't understand this. I don't understand how to read the town report. I don't understand the budget. I don't understand this whole process. What's this format? Why is this person on stage saying who can talk and who can't talk? So that was really the genesis of this whole series, which grew to also include state government and things like that. And so at the January meeting of that, news to me, there's something called a pre-town meeting that many towns have, and that Newfane hasn't had in recent years, although some people have said, oh yeah, I used to be at the school when the school was here. And anyway, it was news to me.
Wow.
So I talked to Carol, the clerk, and to Doris, like as my friend and not as the lister, to see about a pre-town meeting, and was told if I wanted to put it together, great, put it together. So we, in like a week's time with Melissa Brown, scrambled just to put something together, just to have it. In the interim, a couple of people said, oh, why don't you invite the candidates who are running for elected office to come and also, have a meet and greet. So I reached out to the people whose names were on a list of running that I got from Carol, and I left a couple of voicemails, and I sent emails to the people that I had emails for. So I apologize profusely if you are running for office and didn't hear from me and you saw that this notice was here. I don't think it should be the library in any way putting on the pre-town meeting. I feel like that's a function of the town government itself, and I would love for the town government to put on a pre-town meeting next year. But this year, I got it together and it's happening. And I would love it if anyone could come. It's Monday, the 24th, next Monday. I've invited people to come. Everyone's unopposed. Everyone's going to get elected that's running, so it's not like such a huge deal, I think. But I've invited anyone who can make it to come at 6:30 who's running. And then at 7 o'clock is going to be the pre-town meeting, which is going to be run by Melissa and by Deb Luskin, the moderator. I don't know who she is. So sorry if I didn't do it in the best possible way, and I hope next year someone else will do it.
I think it's wonderful that you set it up.
Thank you.
thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Anything else?
Not for me.
So it starts at 6:30, right?
Well,
You said?
6:30 is the candidate's time, which is just people, people whose term is expiring and they're re-upping, or people who are, running for a term. People who are currently holding elected office that isn't expiring are certainly also welcome to come. And then the actual pre-town meeting part where people are asked to bring their town report, and it will be gone through by Melissa with questions about the budget and
Yeah.
the report. That part starts at 7.
At
And
7,
with Deb
okay.
talking about Robert's Rules of Order and how the meeting flows. So the two of them will be sort of doing it together.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know I've attended a few.
Those the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to attend. Look forward to it.
Okay, anything else? Nothing else on your mind? Any other questions, comments? Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Mr. Tessier, greetings.
Evening.
Good to see you in here in the dark of night.
Yeah,
Usually it's in the bright of day. We sort of decided to invite you to come and talk to the board and whoever else wanted to listen tonight, just to get a a little better background for some people as to what's going on and what the good things are and what the bad things are about zoning without too many real specifics. There's nothing, I don't think there's anybody has any specific problems. But let me just start off and I guess I probably ought to, for people that don't know this, I was zoning administrator for a long time ago. So I've lost a lot of what was, and what was now is not. So, so I guess my lead-off question is, what do you think is working, and what are your biggest problems? And not necessarily in that order.
Much time. Generally, it's working fairly well. One of the problem areas, perennial problem area, is going to be private roads. The state has certain statutes over the maintenance of the road, and there's no way I can enforce them. Basically, we have to look at it from the point of view of emergency vehicle response. And some of the roads that are private in this town, I wouldn't take a $500,000 piece of equipment up the road. And the people living on that road don't seem to care. But in the end, they're probably going to complain if they don't get the service they think they should get from emergency services. So I need some backup on that from the board. You know, I have to go out and say, hey, the statute says, and basically they show up and back and say, too bad.
Yeah.
Oak Hill was a prime example.
That hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed a bit. Blueberry Circle, well, they'll swallow up almost any SUV now.
Yeah.
The road I live on, not
Well,
much better.
Is there something in zoning that do you think that could be done to change that and fix that or help that?
I think it would require a major rewrite as far as that goes. It would actually be in the town plan or in the subdivision regulations. But we have to have some teeth in it. When I have a zoning violation, I've got to be assured that the board is going to be behind me. If I cite somebody for a major violation, I have to know that I'm not doing it for nothing.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that kind of support.
Well, I think that you know, I can't answer for everyone, but certainly the board should back it. This is the town's zoning ordinance, and which backs up the town plan. And certainly the teeth at this particular point on private roads is the town won't take them over unless they meet certain standards.
Right.
And a lot of these residents on private roads don't think that at this point they give it. Ooh. But someday, so it's everything the town could do to get them to fix them up would be a help.
Because we already dealt with one that we weren't able to add on. So those that are on private roads, if they wanted to go to a town road over a period of years, I guess they could have a plan of action to bring the roads up to par.
Yeah.
For us to be able to accept it, right?
Yeah, but that in my estimation, that's not a zoning
Yeah.
problem. It's a problem that zoning has to deal with as a secondary effect.
because a vehicle couldn't make it up the road or something, right?
That's,
Yeah.
Or that's not even the zoning, is it?
no, well, that really
In
would,
the same vein, I seem to have a little rash of people who put up buildings and just forget to get a permit. And our penalty is basically double the fee, which I've collected a few times. But, you know, when you're talking about a minor permit, a fence or pool or something like that, that's maybe a $10 fee, it doesn't have an awful lot of impact. And even a storage building where the zoning fee might be $50 or $60, people say, yeah, so what? And it takes the teeth away. Go out there and say you're in violation. And the answer basically, so what?
well, can't you take that to the DRB?
What are they gonna do?
Tell them to take it down, among other things. Yes,
The problem would come when it's time for them to sell their property, if it hasn't been approved.
if they don't.
We've been down that road before. Remember up in the hinterlands, a gentleman who was rather rude and obnoxious. He would do what he wanted. And I remember a certain deck that he had it on that kind of extended into the neighbor's property. And the answer was, so what? So I did violate him, and then I paid the price. There was no backing.
I think, do you also, do you wonder if people don't really understand that any change on their property should be, they should come to the town, and they're not coming to the town because they don't want to have somebody tell them not to do it, in the majority of the cases. Or they don't know they should come to the town. So, I mean, a shed, you know, so then you say, well, what size is the shed? I mean, is any shed, anything you do on your property, you're gonna come to the town? And then people say, well, it's my property, you know? I'm out in the woods, what does it matter?
But it
But
is an ordinance. It is a bylaw, and it can be enforced. I mean, it's easy enough for a person to come to the zoning administrator, I want to do this, the zoning administrator says, no permit needed, hands him a piece of paper that says that with his signature on it, he's clear. But I think that the town, one should know about these kinds of things, and certainly should back up the zoning administrator and the DRB and the planning commission. Starts with the planning commission, goes on up through. So, I mean, that's just my
what else
2 cents worth, which is worth a nickel today.
is, do you want to set up parameters where if I have a situation, I come to the board and say, I've got this problem. I feel I should issue a violation notice and discuss it with the board before I actually issue it.
That's your call.
Discretion.
I think you could, I don't see any reason why not.
Well, that was the problem, that one incident where I basically took the hit.
Well, then when you get pushback, you come to the board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
did it because the rules say you can do it. And then I caught all kinds of flack saying, why did you do that? And I said, because that's what the bylaws say.
Well, that's when you
know,
should come to the board.
when you get stung like that, you kind of remember the sting.
Right.
Yeah, please.
I was just thinking about the fact that Select Board, for example, has various policies that we have to follow, and we've talked about it at our official Select Board meetings, and there's manuals that have all the policies. I think it would be very useful for the public to have able to be educated in what zoning bylaws are in writing, and also perhaps, maybe not, if it's not too late for this year, but from now on, having a review at town meeting day, because a lot of people might be ignorant meaning the word ignoring, because they don't know what the rules are.
Right.
And so they go ahead and build something and not aware of the fact. And I think that it would be very useful for us to allow the people to be educated on what is approved and what cannot be approved, and who do you go to, and, you know, policy, zoning policy.
Yeah.
Zoning bylaws are available on the website. They're there, so if anybody wants to read them. And I agree with you, education is a lot.
I would suggest, even if it's online, a lot of people don't go online or don't have computers. And I remember, excuse me, when I first came on select board and we had to go up to Montpelier for the workshops, they said at that time that we cannot assume that people are going online.
Right. Correct.
Right.
And that we have to have another way of also reaching out to the public. So I would suggest.
But I'm sure our zoning administrator is welcome to explain everything to the people if they have any questions.
Right.
I'm sure you do it in a friendly manner when you go up to talk to the landowner, and, you know, like, FYI, you know, this isn't allowed and we're gonna have to figure this out type of thing.
I think the
Now, what
idea,
is the steps he's supposed to follow when he does that? You don't come right to the select board, it goes to the DBR first, right? That where he's supposed to go? And then if they don't do nothing,
And
then
then
they come to
us.
us?
it depends on the nature of the problem. Sometimes it goes back to the planning commission, sometimes it goes to developer review board, and on occasion it can come to this board. And unfortunately, not every violation or potential violation or question is the same, so you really don't know. I think that, do you have a feeling that there's a need for an update or a major update of the bylaw?
Not a major, there are minor tweaks here and there.
Okay. Well, Mike, this is me speaking. I think that in a public education situation, sometimes a time when people can come and sit down and find out what that's all about, could possibly and should possibly rest with the planning commission. Planning commission draws up the bylaws, has to hold several public hearings, which is too late. Then they come to the board.
Yeah, the whole process.
So,
I
but I think-
understand the need,
I think
but the
And it-
process is like
it might be
frozen
something,
molasses.
excuse me, it might be something that
Yeah,
by itself as a single event might create more interest and
Yeah.
or so. Well, you gave us the minuses, what are the pluses?
we're doing good.
That's what I wanted.
We don't put many houses up, but,
Yeah. Unfortunately.
which is a good thing.
Wow,
I think,
housing stock is getting old.
I will say on my own personal experience, working with the zoning administrator was very pleasant.
So what? I think.
My own personal experience working with the zoning administrator was very pleasant.
thank you, that's good to know. Surprised, no one
So like if they have the permit fee, and they don't get the permit fee, then you go out and you fine them. So it's
I
just,
don't find it, not in my budget.
now who doubles the,
I have a watchdog.
so somebody doubles the permit cost, right?
Yeah,
So
we
then
have,
if they pay the double of the amount, does that give them the permit now?
Some of them I do, yeah.
Yeah,
The listers go out on a regular basis,
yeah,
and when they see discrepancies, because they get a copy of every permit I issue. So when they go out and there's an extra garage on the building that they don't have a permit for, they'll come back and say, we don't see a permit for this. In most cases, it's because they didn't look in the right place. It might be like the prior year,
Yeah,
because they don't review every property every year. It's kind of a rotating thing. So it could be the permit was issued 2 years prior
right.
and building whatever, and they just sort of overlook that. But they do get a copy every time I issue a permit. Which would bring the question up, would you like a copy for the board?
It's available
I've seen it.
in your office.
They're right there, you get the quarterly report.
I
Do we?
defer to
I haven't
others.
seen a report from the zoning administrator.
No.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that you people are in the loop.
Yeah, who do you give it to?
Who do I give it to?
Yeah,
The report?
yes.
You've gotten one.
Oh, we have?
It's just a spreadsheet kind of thing.
but a copy of the building permits you post in too, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you want the file to go fast.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't hurt probably for the select board to have it, you know, just to see what's going on in town.
Yeah, I mean, I checked him out hanging.
But yeah,
you
this
know.
is almost felt like we was talking about that with the dog catcher type deal. You know, like, you know, there's not enough money in your budgets to cover all if you're chasing people around. So if they don't have a permit, you double the fine, so if it's $10, you fine them 20. Well, they just pay the thing, you know, oh, well, it's all done now, they got the building where they want it, it's, you get it up. Whereas there was more of a, you know, if it was a little bit bigger deal, if you're gonna have the zoning, which I don't really care if we have zoning or not, but, cause I'm one of them guys who, this is my land, I just can do what I want on the damn thing. But, you know, if you're gonna have it, you know, same with a dog catcher, you know, you got a guy, they want X amount of dollars to chase some dog, well, if they gotta go out more than once, you go out and you warn the person the first time, and your town pays for it, well, he has to go out and keeps chasing that dog, and all of a sudden we're getting $100, $200 expenses, that should go to that guy that owns the dog.
Exactly.
So they pay that expense. Now we have money in a budget that's building itself up to pay that guy to do that job.
Right.
Because nobody wants to do it for nothing anymore. And it's, you know, we don't have that kind of muddy budget. It's the same almost like with this, you know. If it's only another $10,
Yeah.
it ain't worth anybody chasing it no matter what. And
Well, it can't be a significant amount, so it's at least worth having it in there.
I don't know.
You know, fortunately, maybe in a typical year, 4 or 5 cases. And the amount I collect is, you know, it pays the postage.
Yeah. Well, you're never gonna catch up and you're certainly never gonna get ahead, so.
Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wonder, like, if I wanted to put up a shed on my property, I wouldn't necessarily think that I needed a permit for it. And if I thought I needed a permit for it, I would think I needed a permit for it because my property taxes were gonna be increased. And I would be disinclined then to request that permit, especially if I now know that, big whoop, I paid $20 instead of $10, don't have to come for a hearing and it's automatically approved. I mean, my concern would be an increase in property value and ensuing taxes. So if that's not the case, like if you can put up a shed and it's not really gonna be a major impact, I would wonder why I would need to pay a fee to the town, like what the purpose is of that. And I think that it might be helpful to put that information in easy to understand language and maybe put together a packet when somebody buys a property in Newfane. Here's all of that you need to know about stuff related to making improvements on your land.
pamphlet about that thick.
Well, I don't know.
Or even in the town report, you know, if there is an update on the zoning changes for the year, and maybe there is, coming up with our town report. But so there's public information on it.
Because I mean, I find the town's website very difficult to navigate. I really find it hard to find information there. You know, I'm the librarian, I'm not dumb, I'm used to finding information from websites and reading reports and stuff, and I find it very difficult to navigate. So, you know, there may well be people who would like to know what the right thing is to do, if it even crosses their mind that that's something that they need a permit for, and can't find that information. That's my 2 cents.
I think if I might just jump in here for a moment. 2 contacts can answer your question. One with the zoning administrator, do I need a permit? Second with the listers, if I put up a 10 by 20 shed, what's the, it depends on how the shed is, what the shed is built of, how nice it is, how simple it is, and so forth. You can get a rough idea of what it is, and you can decide whether you want to go ahead with it or not. And that, I think, is that pretty much the theory behind it. Again, there's no question that having the information quickly and easily available is the best of all possible worlds. And
I think like Googling that question or trying to do a search on the town's website saying, who do I contact if I want to build a shed, is not going to result in any information.
some do.
Yeah, just
some
simple
don't.
layman's terms.
Yeah.
Versus zoning, like, we're in the twilight zone.
My sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that most people make a query and get a permit and or, so that we're looking at a small percentage of people, whether it's worth,
Right.
how much it's worth going after them is a question that will never be solved, but it's there.
During the season, I probably spend half my time with phone calls, people call, quizzing, do I need,
Mm-hmm.
and how do I get it?
Uh-huh. Well, that's good.
Is that
Until-
something that Carol, as town clerk, can help people with? If somebody would come in person and ask Carol, town clerk, about an issue for getting a permit, can she lead them to the right?
Well, I'm sure she would.
does. Yeah, I'm sure she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Carol usually refers people. She says you have to see the zoning
Right, that's
administrator,
right.
which is good.
Yeah, so you can
Because-
come in and ask.
How do we,
Mr. Jones.
I have a question. How do we know when new people come into town? Like,
stand up on the side of the road and look at their license plate.
I mean, for instance, you know, like a sale of a house and new people move in, you know, as a town, could we?
Records are documented at the town clerk's.
Yeah, but like a welcome kit or something, like welcome to Newfane, you know, here's the zoning laws.
Here's what you can't do.
Well,
Invite us over for cocktails.
many towns do just exactly that.
Yeah,
Many towns do.
yeah.
We have dog ordinance, we have zoning, we have speed limits on certain streets and it's all laid out.
Instead of like living here for 10 years and finally finding out what you're supposed to do.
Give it time.
Right, I know.
Anything else you'd like to, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you have questions? I've stated different things.
Yeah, I guess my, do you go to planning commission meetings to keep in touch with them?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, when you've got a squawk, I think that's the place to go first. And if it festers a while, you can come here or go to the DRB. It depends on, you know, if it's a DRB-oriented situation, sure, but I think that I found it was helpful to keep my ear to their ground. Not personal, nothing official. Thank you. Anybody, anything else?
So you might want to just state your hours and days that you're here, just on, if someone's watching.
Yeah, they're on the website, my hours.
Okay, but you're here Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Tuesday, Thursday, 12:30 to 4:30.
12:30 to 4:30.
And I'm budgeted for 10 hours a week. I put in 8 because when a hearing comes up, I don't want to go over budget. So I reserve some time.
Uh-huh.
I think the schedule for everybody's out here in the hallway.
Yeah, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
if somebody's watching, they would,
Yeah,
it's a good way to advertise yourself.
Thank you. Unless anyone has something else.
I would just have one request.
Yeah.
At some point in the future, I would like to sit down with the board and discuss a policy matter.
Would that come to us?
I don't see any reason why that can't be.
Just talk to one and schedule it.
Check with the boss, see what happens.
Pardon?
Check with the boss.
If you want to be scheduled.
Yeah.
Good?
It would probably be considered an executive session, although I'm willing to do public.
Well, personnel matters are, maybe, let's put it that way, and typically are.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Anyone? Thank you again, Merle.
Okay.
Anything from any unscheduled members of the public? I don't see anyone that fits the description. Does anyone have any old business they'd like to bring before us at this point?
Hi, Merle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hear nothing in terms of old business. New business, broadband. Juanetta has spoken briefly.
Hi, Jay. Happy plowing.
Stay away. Not nice.
But it's winter and it's beautiful.
Okay, under the broadband umbrella, the organization backing this study has asked that we provide them with a letter saying that we were at this point, not are, willing to participate in the study, and that we have an individual who would like to serve as a contact person from here on out. And I think that if we have a motion saying that the board approves of the town of Newfane participating in the study for broadband I'm trying to find the right word, service in the town and the development of a business plan. If I could have a permit, if I could have I've got permits on my mind. If I could have a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
Could take.
Second it.
Just as background, I've been to all the meetings, and Juanetta's been to all but one, so we've been right in the middle of it, so we pretty well know what's going on. I don't think there's any reason why, if anyone has any particular question, I can't try to answer it or defer to Juanetta at this point before we take a vote.
I do have a question. Like, I saw somewhere along in the information that the town should take the lead on doing something?
getting the survey.
CUs or something that might?
Well, the
acronym?
survey has been developed.
Okay,
It will be online.
okay,
We will have paper copies available, maybe in the library.
Sure.
And the other thing that we are encouraged to do is to encourage people to fill one out and get it back. Because in the long run, it may, not that it will, but it may help push the installation of broadband to some of our under and unserved areas.
but there's something about to support the cost of it by the towns, was there something like that?
No cost involved
Okay,
at this point. I mean, when it comes
Could eventually
Comes
be a
around to
cost,
put-
but
putting the cable,
not for the survey.
yes, that's what I was, the installation or something, or,
Probably eventually, but not at this point.
but nothing at this point other than encouraging residents to fill out the survey in
Okay.
whatever way they can.
okay, so we're not committed as a town that we are responsible for doing any of that?
Not at all. This is for the development of the survey and then the development of a potential business plan for getting broadband to the areas that show as a result of the survey who would need it.
So we would have to do a business plan for the town?
No, this
No.
is being done as part of this project.
Okay,
This is a state-funded,
It would be the
Grant
result
to
of
Wyndham
the
Regional.
survey for
Right.
our area.
right.
okay, we have a motion before us. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
I will get a letter put together tomorrow on that. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Lynn Forrest has agreed to serve as a contact person.
I believe there's a email in there, in your correspondence to that effect.
Yes, she did send out an email.
Yeah.
Okay. I will not be able to attend tonight's board meeting. Appreciate if the issue can be addressed during unscheduled members of public or as correspondence. We might as well take it now. Per our conversation following the previous select board meeting and also after the Wyndham Regional Broadband Survey meeting, I am volunteering to be Newfane's point person for the broadband survey. I have attached the broadband project summary as well as an article from Vermont Business Magazine. Speaks about the proposed project to get all Vermonters broadband service. Quite interested in the process for a number of reasons. As a planning commissioner, increased speed provided by broadband is an economic development issue. Although many residents have internet through Southern Vermont Cable Consolidated Communications Copper, speed is slower than what's needed for business and home office internet users. Personally, it appears that fiber run along Dover Road in South Newfane and Williamsville, but it's not being used. I've emailed WRC asking if the previously installed fiber in Newfane will mean a lower cost for our town. If I'm appointed by the select board, I'll vigorously work toward ensuring all Newfane residents and property owners know of and are able to complete the survey. I look forward to the select board's response.
Well, may I make a motion to appoint Lynn Forrest as our contact person in this matter?
You may,
One second.
is there discussion on the motion now before us? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, thank you.
She'll do it.
Any other new business to come before us at this point? Okay, we'll move to correspondence. We have a number of communications here. First is reference to a piece of property that's available now owned by Frank Mercedes and Sons. At the suggestion of Mike Fitzpatrick sending some information about our property on Radway Hill, Mark thought the town might be interested in purchasing the property for sand and gravel. I know you have the lister's card, but here's a little info on the property. It's on Radway Hill. I don't know the word subdivision is here. I don't know why. 21.67 acres, also referred to as Peterson property, purchased as a 3-lot state subdivision with exempt 4th lot of 10 acres. Parcel was subject to a 25-year right first refusal to A.S. Clark, which was offered and refused. Almost certainly, non-permitted lot would be able to support a wastewater disposal system for a single-family residence, so effectively it is a 4-lot subdivision. There have been surveys created to possibly expand this to additional lots, but it has not been approved as an amended subdivision. Please let me know if there's anything else you need. Laettia, Ashmore, Frank Mercede and Sons. Asking price is $195,000. So the board would have to do 2 things. Vote to attempt to acquire the property, and if its offer were accepted, to raise the money.
Is that just before River Road on the
On
right-hand
the
side?
corner. It's the inside of the corner.
Okay.
Goes all the way down to that last house in the field. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd make I was just thinking, you know, for future for the town, for gravel. I think it'd make a good thing, and then when it was all done with it, town could get rid of it for housing or whatever, you know.
Is it off hill or something right
I
now?
don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good sand and gravel up in there. I just don't see a lot of other people getting set up to get the gravel out. Town, I just think can do it easy enough.
Is there some sort of an assessment that would be able to tell us how much sand and gravel they could get out of it?
There's a lot, there's probably like gravel there that more than having, you know, off of that. I know it'd go cheaper. But what I'd do if we ever decide to, I'd like to go into another meeting, we talk on a price, then we come up with it and try to make them an offer. If they offer it, then we go to the town with it.
Because currently we get our sand and gravel and stuff like that, we have to have it hauled in from a contractor that we bid with through a bid process. So unlikely that there's enough of the material in there that would pay for the cost of purchasing it and give you something back more.
You know it too, I mean, you've seen the land there.
I think that it might be wise if there is further discussion along these lines that the board do an executive session.
That's what I'm saying, for then we
Which
go.
is permissible.
I know what I'd offer them, so that's what I would tell you guys that, and we'd figure it out.
I don't think there's been anything said so far that should have been, that is not in the open, let's put it that way, already in the open.
Can we put it on the next agenda for an executive session? Or does it need to be done tonight?
It does not need to be done tonight unless you wish to vote to have a response to this letter saying the board is interested and will proceed with consideration and stay in touch or something to that line.
We could have a quick one,
What's that?
executive session.
You're gonna have to bring it to the voters though, first.
Right.
Oh, yeah, because the,
Yeah,
Well, you wouldn't have to first. I mean, we could go in and say what we want, what kind of proposal we would like, and see if he would accept what we're talking. And then from that point, you take it to the voters to get the,
Of
to get the funding.
Yeah.
right. I mean, there's no sense going to the voters, say, you know, we're looking for 190,000, then I just think,
There's a better way.
I mean, if you wanted to do it tonight, I mean, because
I
this is
mean-
your last meeting, except for the one we have for the special town meeting, right?
Right.
There's no other select one meeting, right?
Yeah, it would be
Not until the 9th.
After the,
We have one on the 2nd, which is the
Right.
pre-town meeting.
And then we
And
have
then
town
the
meeting
ninth-
and our regular
The 9th
meeting.
is the public hearing, and then we have to have an organizational meeting the
Oh,
week
yeah.
of town meeting.
Ought to have it right off, yeah, but that's your problem, somebody else's problem. Um, Well, what's your pleasure? What would you like to do? Would you like to have me put together a quick note, say, town is interested, is considering your proffer, which is what it is, and we will be in touch.
I go for that, just,
Yeah,
Sounds good.
then go from there. We'll start out with a new
with the
board.
new board and go from there with the new board.
Okay, so I take your inclination as a motion?
Sure,
and
I'll
yours-
make that
and yours
motion.
as a second? Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. From Gloria Cristelli, I'm emailing to say that I will be the town coordinator for Green Up Day, but I might need to be approved by the board, I'm not sure. I doubt they'll object, but Chris Williams has never had a fondness for me. And he might object to my chairing the committee. This is an open communication to the Board of the Select Board from a resident. Let me know the process from here. I'm proceeding as though I'm chair, so at least some work will be accomplished. Gloria.
Go for it, Gloria.
At that point, I will turn it over to the board.
She wants to be the chair of Green Up Day?
Well, I'm making
I make a motion,
Motion.
she does that as long as Chris would be co-chair.
I make a,
Yeah, I make a
you make a
motion.
motion, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second, motion before us to appoint Gloria Cristelli as chair of Green Up Committee. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye,
Abstentions? She's asking. No.
well, she put that in. so-
I know. That was not necessary.
I have an email from Deborah Luskin. Dear Select Board, Phoebe Connolly is working with Leland Gray High School students through their community service program of providing childcare during town meeting. Moore Free Library has offered to host this. I think this is satisfactory for the town question of town liability. Please let me know if you think otherwise.
I think that's fantastic.
I
Yep.
think it's wonderful on two levels. Thank you.
Wonderful of the library to offer to host
I-
and the kids to get some community service hours in.
I
Yeah.
don't believe that we need to take any action on this
You know?
unless somebody disagrees and would like to.
No,
That is wonderful.
Okay, we have a,
you know that came about because it was a discussion that came across my, that we would be liable, so just wanted to clarify with everybody. If we did it, if we took it upon ourselves to
Oh,
put it together as the select board.
got back to the bed where you lost me. Okay. We have here a communication from Prevent Child Abuse Vermont. And I will paraphrase, I cannot, I think, read too much more tonight. Prevent Child Abuse Vermont is a private nonprofit organization that has served families and children in the state for 44 years. Our programs include Circle of Parents, support groups, nurturing parenting, shaken baby syndrome, safe sleep prevention, child sexual abuse prevention, healthy relationship for children 0 to 13. The National Symbol for Child Abuse Prevention is the pinwheel, and we would like to have as many towns, businesses, and organizations as possible show their support for prevention by planting a pinwheel garden, unquote. This entails purchasing pinwheels from Prevent Child Abuse Vermont for $1 each, with the recommended amount being 100 pinwheels, and planting them in the ground during the month of April. If the pinwheel gardens were up for only the day of proclamation, it would make a big impact. So I think what they're doing is they're asking the town of Newfane, or the select board on behalf of the town of Newfane, to put up $100 for 100 of these, and then find somebody to go around and put them up or stick them all out in the
Put
backyard.
them right on the front of the town office. It's a beautiful little one.
Is the ground gonna be thawed?
Well,
Any comments on the proposal?
The wood shop that's in it.
Well, I think it's kind of like an appropriation though, kind of a request.
It is a request for an appropriation of $100 to Child Abuse Vermont, or Prevent Child Abuse Vermont.
It's a little late for this year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, sounds nice, but I think their budget is done. So we recommend that they put it in for our appropriation for the following year. And somebody else might want to pick it up, see this, and do it on their own.
yes.
Am I correct?
The information will be with Juanetta if anybody's interested.
We have no motion, we have no action to take
Or
on it.
donations.
Green Up Day donations.
Anything else that anyone's aware of that should come before us under correspondence? Seeing and hearing none, we can move to pay orders. And thank you, everyone.